Erwin.
Hello, Nick. So I thought I would demonstrate at the keyboard some of these ideas. We're talking about stride. I also noticed I said there were 3 things that you could learn to make stride work for you, and then I only explained 2 of them, so I'll try to demonstrate the 3rd one as well. The first was get yourself a copy of Eric Satie's Geomopodesias. So if you can just pan the camera over here for a second to look at the page. This is Geomopodesia number 2, and you'll see right here there's a stride bass going on in the bass hand here. And the chords are simply an E minor chord, F major, E minor, F major, E minor, F major, E minor, F major going along here. Then later A minor, F, and E flat, etc., etc. So we'll demonstrate this. You'll notice here that this chord position is, I have a little, I don't know if you can see the little red dot I have here, but the little red dot is some kind of voice leading I like to do inside of the notes, and this second note here from the bottom is the index finger. That second note from the bottom is the index finger, and this is what happens when you create a chord that uses what I call the pointer system. So now pan back a little and we'll show you how this works. Basically what's happening in this piece is you're reaching down here to strike this note and holding it with the pedal. Then we come up here, and again with the pointer finger I point at the 3 chord, which is the E minor, and have this inversion. Now this is a thing called the intervalometer that visualizes these things. If I take a 1 chord, 1, 3, 5, this is what we call root position. And if I invert this by taking the 1 at the bottom and moving it up here, we get this kind of a shape, you see, where we have a 3rd and then a 4th. And then if I take this 3rd and go for the 2nd inversion and pull it up here, see, we have this kind of a shape. So now the 1 is in the middle where my finger is pointing, the 3rd is my thumb, and the 5th can be either my ring finger or my pinky. I actually like to strike it with both, unless... Now what Satie does is he's using this formation, and he's taking this 3rd and he's doubling it at the bottom by stretching with the pinky, using the ring finger, stretching with the pinky to get this kind of shape, which makes the chord, say here, very bright, very consonant, very immobile. But by doing this, it kind of makes it softer and more pastel. And I'm pointing with my finger to that 2nd inversion, adding the 3rd on the bottom. Now sometimes he uses the 3rd on the bottom, and sometimes he doesn't. If we don't put the 3rd on the bottom, the chord is hotter and moves, and if we put the 3rd on the bottom, it's softer and more pastel. So this is the very basic theory behind the pointer system. So to get back to Satie, what he's doing is, I was saying, the first thing to do is to take the melody, which is way up here, and just play the bass notes. So you're going 1, easy peasy. And if you do that through the whole song, you can get through the bass, and you can get the melody in, and you can balance, because sometimes people do this. And you hear the melody is being overwhelmed by the bassness. If I play the bass a little bit softer and the melody a little bit harder, I can get a balance between them. The other thing that I can do is, since it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I can work on getting that swinging feeling that you get when you're doing a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it helps get that waltz feeling going. Okay, so that's a day's work, all right? The next thing is just take the chords now and think of the chords as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, using the pointer system for the E minor, then doubling the third on the F, pointer 3, 5, 7, 4, 6, 1. See, the 6 is the third being doubled. 1, 3, 5, 7 would be the 3 chord. 4, 6, 1 would be the 4 chord. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, I can then balance the melody against that. Then he reaches way down here. Etc., etc. So by doing that, I can go 1, 2, 3, 1. And I can get my hand to get those chords going as lusciously and as smoothly as I can. The next thing is to go. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, you'll get that waltz feeling happening and be able to balance these 4, 3 and 4 note chords against a single 1 note chord. And he is playing this melody very soft with a slight swell and then going back to soft again. So since the melody is so soft, you really have to pull back on those chords. Another thing to add more to the stride, what I did when I learned to play the piece, and I wanted to take it to another level, so I wanted to add in more notes than Eric Satie has here. So what I did is I played the chord and then would, on the 3rd and the 5th of the chord, go down a half step. And so I did this. And it makes it a little more French. Now it's getting a little jazzier and you're having some fun with it. So this is a great piece for anyone out there who wants to learn stride piano. And since it's a waltz and the bass notes going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, everything's happening slow enough. Now they want you to play this thing lent, trest. And lent is very, very, very slow. So it should be more like. Swelling on the melody there. The slower you play this, even if you play it slower than it should be played, the more difficult the piece is, but the more you have to be concerned with balancing the tone between the 3 voices. And to me, the trick here, besides learning the bass, is getting the balance of the tone between the hands. So the melody can be soft and rule, and the chords are held in the background so the melody's still forward, and no matter how the melody swells and falls, that's held in the background with the bass being a little bit louder. So you have the chords in the background, the bass a little bit louder because it has to last for 3 beats, and then the melody coming to the foreground being played soft, swelling, and going back. And then the second time through a little bit louder. And putting a nice swell on that and getting this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 swing gets this going, okay? First thing. Second thing, the pointer method. If I'm pointing at the 1 chord, I've got a 1 major chord. If I'm pointing at the 2, we have a natural 2 minor chord. If I'm pointing at the 3, we have a natural 3 minor chord. The 4 is a major chord. The 5 is a major chord. The 6 is naturally a minor chord. The 7th, 7, 2, 4 is a diminished chord. And then back to the 1 chord. So let's just start there. If I reach way down here and hit the 1, I can come up here and point at the 1 and hit that chord. So now everything's right here in front of my belly button, right? Then I'm going to say I'm going to play a 2 chord, a 3 chord, a 4 chord, a 5 chord. Now if I play them out of order, let's say a 1 chord, then down to a 6 chord, a 4 chord, a 1 chord, 6 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, play it wherever I want. 1 chord, 6 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord, 6 chord. Now it gets a little muddy down there, so what I like to do is not go too far below here, otherwise things get a bit muddy. So keeping everything right here in the middle of my belly button, and I'm Jabba the Hutt here. I'm pretty wide, so this is basically my whole stomach area, this 2 octaves. So I can reach way down here for a 1 chord, come all the way up here, go down here for my 5 chord, come up here, reach down here for a 2 chord, back to a 5 chord, a 6 chord, keep it right there, a 1 chord here, a 5 chord there, a 2 chord. You see what happens is no matter where I reach down here, whatever number I pick, if I pick a 5, I'm going to point at a 5 here, right? 5, I point at the 5 here. So my pinky, and I like to hit both of these, use that like it's 1 finger, then point, just practicing 1, 6, 4, up here, 5, 1, 6, 4, 5, 5 chord, 5 chord, back to the 1 chord. Now if you want to pull a sautee, we double the 3rd. 6 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, doubling the 3rd, and there I can start adding in my little half steps or whatever I want to do. The idea is when you hit something down here, you want to come right here to the middle, Now the other idea I was talking about is what I call crabbing. Here's crabbing. Again, let's look at the 1 chord. 1, 3, 5, natural 7. If I take this note here and move it up here, this is the first inversion of that chord. If I take the 3 here and move it up here, this is the second inversion. And you'll notice in the second inversion again, my index finger points at the root. In the first inversion of the chord, the root's at the bottom. In the second inversion of the chord, the root's on the index finger. So there's this little thing that you can do which I call crabbing. Let's start here with the 4 chord. And then if I want to move to a 7 chord, I just take these 2 fingers and move them down. Now I'm in second inversion and there's my root. Now if I want to spread it out for the 3 chord, I just take these fingers and move it down. And now we got the root there. Now I'm going to go for the 6th chord. Now I'm going to go for the 2 chord. Root position, 5 chord inverted, second inversion, root, 4 chord. I can do this all day long until it gets so muddy. Down here it's starting to get muddy. So let's take a look and see if I'm doing chord progressions going through half of the circle of fifths. The pattern is going to be like this. I'm going to go from a 4 chord to a 7 chord, from a 7 chord to a 3 chord, from a 3 chord to a 6 chord, from a 6 to a 2, from a 2 to a 5 to a 1, and then voila, the whole process happens all over again. This is half of the circle of fifths going backwards. 1 chord, 5 chord, the 5 of the 5 is 2, the 5 of the 2 is 6, the 5 of the 6 is 3, the 5 of the 3 is 7, the 5 of the 7 is 4. So what we have here is a circle of fifths, backwards. And most chords, progressions throughout history, we started with 1 chord songs, went to 5 chord songs, 2 5 chord songs, 6 2 5 1 chord songs. There you got the 50s. Adding the 3 in, now we're getting into more modern jazz. Adding the 7th and the 4, or a 4 sharp, now we're getting into modern tonal jazz. So that's really just the history of... Now there's one song that does this crab thing. I'm going to take these 2 notes and move them down. Take the 2 bottom fingers and move them down. Top 2 fingers down. Bottom 2 down. Top 2 down. Bottom 2 down, and then take the 7th and move it up to a 1. And listen very carefully. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Don't know nothing. You sure have started something. Can't remember the words anymore. It doesn't matter, I hope you get the idea. So starting from a 4 chord, I can go through the whole circle. 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Now normally jazz musicians do a 2, 5, 1. Or they like to go 2, 5, 2, 5, move up, 2, 5. They would see this not as a 3 chord, but as a 2. Any minor chord's a 2 chord, moving to any dominant chord's a 5 chord. So I can do that. Even on the diminished chord there, it works. So what does that do? That means that if I'm playing a 4 down here, I can come here, go down to my 7, index finger, spread out on the 3, collapse to the 6, second inversion, go down to a 2, spread out, 5 chord, octaves. 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. That's called crabbing. Crabbing is probably the most important simple mechanical thing that you can learn for just doing simple things like if you want to play something like Alice in Wonderland, one of my favorite pieces. Starts out with a 2 minor chord, goes to a G7, just crab in, then to a C major 7, then it goes to a 4 chord, 4 major 7, then a diminished chord to a 3 major chord, instead of, then to a 6 chord. Then it goes right here from the 6 to an E flat and half step down to a, move the whole hand up to a 3 chord. Right? And you'll see that a lot of jazz tunes, if you use the crab, you can get through a lot of jazz tunes, have conservation of motion, not move all over the place, and you can see how this gives rise to stride, because I can reach down here, come up here and play my 1 chord, reach down here for my 4, and just crab in for that. Reach down for my 7 chord, get my half diminished chord, reach down here for my 3, at the 3 and taking that second inversion, I've got my 3 chord, etc. So you can go start on the 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, again. Simplifies things quite a lot, and it's causing what I call conservation of motion, so the hand is coming back here, and I can play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 chords without moving more than so what have I done here? I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, I've moved 5 keys. I've moved all of about 4 inches. Okay, here's the third one that I didn't talk about. When we're playing a chord, like a dominant chord, the 3rd and the 7th of that chord create a tritone. We call the root, or the seed, or the root, and we call the 3rd and the 7th of the chord shells. Seed and its shells. And we take the 5th and we just drop it, because the 5th is ringing inside of the root. If I split this up, I can, like that, drop the 5, I can produce a 1 dominant chord by doing that. Here's the 4, tritone. So the shells would be 6 and 3 flat here. On the 5, 7 and 4. And again, that's a tritone. That dominant chord has that tritone built into it, which keeps pushing the ear down 5 notes. And because of that, you can get this kind of interesting thing. If I play a 1 chord and hit the 3 and 5, 7, now the next chord in the circle of fifths is going to be the F. It turns out if I move this down a half a step to the 3rd of the 4 chord, and this down a half a step, I wind up on the 7th of that 4 chord, see? Look at that motion again. I'm moving both of these shells down a half step. Little or no motion there. To go from the 4 to the B flat, from the F to the B flat, there's the chord, watch. F, move this a half a step down and this a half a step down. Now I've moved it, by moving a half a step, I can play 1, go up, play that chord, and what I'm doing is a 1-4-5 chord progression with dominant chords, believe it or not. Nice trick on the guitar, nice trick on the violin. On the violin, you just put this finger here and then here to get that 4 sharp, slide the finger up a half step, slide it back a half step, and you're playing 1, 4, 5 chord progressions. Here, a 1, I want to move to my 4, to my 5 chord, want to move to my 4 chord. Easy peasy. So if I want to go through the whole circle of fifths, now I'm going to go over here to E flat, go down to A flat, to D flat, down to the G flat or F sharp. Now you'll notice something here on the F sharp. I have 7 flat and 3, same as I had here when I was on the 1 chord. All of a sudden, so a tritone below, I have the same shells. 3 to 7 flat or E to B flat would, for the C chord, would be the same shells inverted for the F sharp. And the distance between this and this is also a tritone. This is called tritone substitution. So if I'm playing this shells, I can move the root down a tritone, play the same shells, and those would be the same 3rd and 7th, except now, instead of this being the 3rd and this the 7th, this is the 7th, and this is the 3rd of F sharp, and that's the 7th. So here, 3rd, 7th, 7th, and 3rd of F sharp. That's why the tritone substitution works. So any tritone will allow me to pick the same shells for a root a tritone below. And what happens is the whole pattern starts over again. And then I go down a 5th, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a 4th, and down a 5th, and I'm right back. See where I started now. I'm a C with the 7 and the 3 on top with the whole thing inverted. So half steps on the shells, half steps on the shells, half steps on the shells, half steps on the shells. Now we're doing the inversions of the shells, and then here we are, right back where we started. Okay? Now the reason I mention that is, if I reach down here for a 1 chord and come up here and play those shells, I can reach down here for a 4 chord and just half step away, there's my 4 chord. If I reach down here for the 1, the 5 chord is going to be up. We go up a half step. 5 chord, up a half step. 1 chord, 4 chord down, half step. 1 chord back up, 5 chord up, back to our normal position. So you see what's happening again is I'm doing a 1, 4, 5 chord progression, but the shells are going 5 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 4 chord. And I can go through the whole circle of fifths and not move my hand more than, and here I am right back, and I can invert that and do those over again through the next half cycle. So there's the trick to stride. The trick to stride is, first of all, pointer. If I want to lower the 3rd and make it a minor, want to lower the 3rd, lower the 5th, I can double the 3rd, lower these, minor them if I want. I can diminish, so I can get any kind of major, minor, diminished, or augmented version. Augment it, raise that 5th, and I'm stuck in one place. We got infinite time limit, Angel. So anyway, I can then do that with the pointer system, I can use the crab. It'll keep my hand in one place, or I can use a what's happening is then I can hit again a bass note and come up here, hit a bass note and come up here, hit a bass note, hit a bass note, hit a bass note, hit a bass note, and so on and so forth. Okay? So those are the 3 secrets to stride piano. Rearranging the chords in such a way using either the pointer system, using the crab, or using just the roots and the shells to keep bringing the hand back to the center of the piano. So everyone out there that wants to do stride, I just taught you a secret you won't find anywhere else on the net. And if you go to my website at mrnatural.net and click on the button that says go into the school, you see a button at the top that says intervalometer. If you go there, you'll get to see this and print it to your printer, cut it up, paste it together, put it behind, and you'll be able to visually see the major scale. And by moving the major scale to any single position, it will automatically move the major scale visually over. You don't have to learn the ABC spellings. You just have to simply follow visually. Then I can put the major scale. If I put it here, it's E flat. If I put it over here, it's G. If I put it over here, it's D. And the intervalometer lets us move the major scale into any position that we want, so I can do this in any key. If I'm going to play a chord, a 1 chord, a 2 chord, a 3 chord, a 4 chord, a 5 chord, a 6 chord, a 7, a 1, if I move it into a new position, it's still 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7, 4, 6, 1, 5, 7, 2, 6, 1, 3, 7, 2, 4. So the chords will be spelled the same way no matter where I move the intervalometer. The intervalometer becomes a visual cue as to where to find that major scale. Thank you, Nick.